Welcome, friends, colleagues, and parents. My name is Will Ord. I'm a teacher trainer, and I'd like to share one of my favorite resources with you called the Good Reasoning Tree. It's an activity that children can do so that they develop the art of argument. That is, the skills and the dispositions to learn how to argue well together. Let me introduce you to it in stages, and I'll go into where you can get it for absolutely free on my website. It's on thinkingeducation.co.uk, and there are 3 versions you can get hold of. But first of all, let me go through the ideas as to why you might bother. The art of argument is needed for, first of all, great learning. Children need to go beyond mere knowledge, the surface facts, and tussle with the ideas that they're meeting, to think of reasons for, reasons against, learn how to conclude things and think of consequences. Secondly, arguments play a very important role in our lives, in our friendships, in our family life, even in the workplace further down the road. So are we learning how to do that well for our well-being? How to empathize with others? How to hold our ground, how to yield sometimes. Art of argument is also very important for oracy and an excellent tool for exams and essay planning. There's also, of course, a very important role for argument in being thoughtful, active citizens. And finally, argumentation and debate is absolutely part of the curriculum. It's a cross-curricular theme, and the Good Reasoning Tree will help with all of these ideas. So let's have a look at how it works. Well, the art of argument has many, many facets, and I train people all over the world in this area. The key one here that we're going to focus on is at the heart of it all is how to argue well. What is the basic structure of an argument? So there are 3 free downloads. thinkingeducation.co.uk will take you to that resource. There's the Great Reasoning Tree basic version. This comes out as an A3 resource printed there. I used to call this activity treasoning, but it's now a printed and designed thing. There's an advanced version for students or those who are older or more able. And there's also a booklet full of ideas and propositions to play with. It's all free. No email required. It's as simple as that. So how does it work? Here's the basic version template. Top left-hand corner, you start with a proposition. That is a claim or something that you want the children to think about in terms of reasons for and reasons against. It might be something like, we want Roman chariots should be brought back today, or rainforests should be cut down, or every school should have a zoo. For older ones, of course, it might be an exam or an essay title or claim to explore. So start with the proposition, and then children consider the wins. That is, the reasons against. It's trying to blow that tree, that proposition down. Why not that proposition? They then move on to the roots. That is, those are the reasons for. They're trying to support or help that proposition stand up. Now, once they've analysed the wins and the roots, the reasons against and the reasons for, they then have to weigh them up, make a judgment as to what happens to the tree. For example, if the winds were very, very strong and they discovered that there were hardly any roots, then the tree would be blown down. That is, this bottom option here, they would say, actually, we disagree with a proposition, and we can say why. But it might have been the case that actually they discovered there were very strong roots and very little wind, in which case the tree remains standing up, and that is to say we agree with a proposition. Or it might be, and this third option is a very important area, they might find that the winds and the roots, that is the reasons against and the reasons for, were balanced. They were of equal force. That is, we see it as hard to decide. It's a close run thing. So they conclude what they think the reasons for and against weigh up as, and then they think of consequences. Having concluded that, what do we think happens next? Let me give you a practical example to put flesh on the bones. So a statement to evaluate might be, boys have it better than girls, cats are better than dogs, no one should eat meat, etc. Let's take the example of every school should have a zoo. They consider the wins, and through discussion and questioning and exploring things in the classroom, they come up with the reasons against, as many as they can. So in this case, Year 4 came up with, it's cruel to keep animals in cages. And then we challenge them to think of other possible reasons against. We do exactly the same for the reasons for. We could learn about all the animals, everyone would enjoy coming to school, etc. They weigh them up. In this case, they found that they disagreed. They thought that the tree was blown over. The reasons against were stronger than the reasons for. And then they think of the consequences. So, okay, what happens next? Well, one thing, they wanted to research other ways of seeing animals. And they wanted to see if adults agreed with their conclusions. So overall, in groups, they create the flow, the structure, the process of creating an argument. They're developing the vocabulary for it, proposition, reasons against, reasons for, conclusion, consequences. And they're learning to understand that there are these two sides to play with, that there's some weighing up to do. It's not simply a matter of one side or the other. Here's a real example from Year 4 from a teacher in Newbury. They were working on persuasive letters, reading and comprehension, etc. The proposition they actually phrased as a question: should rainforests be cut down? The winds against, that is the reasons against rainforests being cut down. They worked in groups and came up with it's destroying animals' habitats, etc. They had reasons for it. Their conclusion here, they disagreed, that they felt that the winds were stronger than the roots, and the consequences, we can start recycling, we can plant our own trees, were the consequences. So in essence, they are learning the vocabulary, how to reason for and against, how to weigh things up, conclude, and find consequences. The teacher's view, it was such an amazing lesson, they said. It works so well with looking at two sides of an argument and weighing them up. It has really helped them understand deforestation to a deeper level. With persuasive letters, it was fab. So if you'd like to learn more about the other ideas here with a good reasoning tree, there's a lot of adaptability. It's absolutely free and it's good fun. Do let me know if you'd like any kind of support or to get in touch or just to chat through some training possibilities. Now, in the art of argument and the good reasoning tree, there is an advanced version. That is, we're going to add two key aspects to deepen and challenge the thinking even further. This is particularly useful for essays and exams. So you can see here, this is the advanced version. The basic structure is the same as the basic version. Still got a proposition, wins, roots, conclusion, consequences, the fruit of what we thought about. But we're going to add two aspects. First of all, you can see there's a clouds, that is the weather, the mitigating circumstances that surround the proposition. And they represent the contexts for that proposition. And you can see there's a difference in the reasoning area, both for the wins and the roots. That is, they've got to offer support for their reason. And there's a score element here where they can score the strength of their reason from 1 to 5. Let me explain that in a little more detail. So, same thing as the basic version. You start with the proposition. Let's start with many possibilities. God exists, Hamlet was a coward, nuclear energy is a necessary evil, World War I was mainly caused by industrialization, etc. Or it might be an exam quote. So in Birdsong, men are destroyed by crisis. That might go on the tree. Examine this view. And of course, there are many other subjects that might benefit. Economics, history, geography. These are all examples from 2020 A-level exams. And we think of a context. for it. That is, are there assumptions in the proposition that we need to check or clarify or make obvious? Is there some terminology we need to define? So we've got to clarify terms. And are there limitations to the proposition? Are we talking about specific people, times, places? So, for example, let's say 16-year-olds should have the vote. It's kind of a citizenship education proposition to consider. The context in this case might be, well, we're talking about 16-year-olds in England. We might say that it's not just 16-year-olds in England, they've got to be UK passport holders as well. They might be visitors who are 16, they're not allowed. And voting in what? Well, in this context, we mean general election. So this is asking them to critically analyze the proposition before thinking about and analyzing reasons for and reasons against. So reasons against, same thing. They might offer a reason 16 is too young to make wise decisions. But then the challenge is, well, can you support this with any kind of evidence or data, quotes, research to back that reason up? And they might say, well, in the legal system, their 16-year-olds are not considered adults. So it's started to demand some background, some support for their reason. And here is the score element. Ranging from 1 to 5, can they estimate whether they think that is a strong reason? A very strong reason might be a 5, a very weak reason might be 1. So in this case, they might judge it to be a 3 or a 4. Now, it's important to say it's not an exact science, the score out of 5, it's an estimate. But the key point here is to encourage the weighing up of the strength of a reason, not just the number of reasons. So how strong do they think it is? So in this case, the students might say, we thought it was a 4 out of 5. Now, they do that with other reasons against, give them a score. They do exactly the same for the reasons for, the roots supporting the proposition. They weigh them up, and in this case, they might add up the scores. So they found the total of the wins was 15, the total of the roots was 18. And in this case, the students decided that it was a balanced kind of argument. The tree was kind of bending over, that the wins and the roots were reasonably balanced. Not exactly, but close enough to say it was a balanced argument. And then what are the consequences? Well, they wanted to do more research into countries with 16-year-old voting. What are the effects of that? And they also wanted to plan a school-wide referendum with adults and pupils. So there again, the students have been challenged to structure in a collaborative and empathetic kind of environment, group work, structure their argument together, but taking the thinking much more deeply, much more thoughtfully and creatively. So what are the benefits of the good reasoning tree? Well, you'll get better understanding of what having an argument means with young people. You'll certainly upgrade their critical and creative thinking. It'll develop their collaboration and empathy, and you'll see definite improvements in essays and exam answers. It also has benefits, of course, for things like interviews, debating, and public speaking. The good reasoning trees, it's very adaptable. It can be cross-curricular, useful in lessons or as a great homework, and indeed in everyday kind of relationships. And finally, of course, it's absolutely free. So just go to my website, thinkingeducation.co.uk, and you'll find it's freely available there. If you'd like to explore more about the art of argument, you want to make that a strength of your school, meet those curriculum demands and upgrade the oracy that's going on there, do contact me for a free chat about training, how I can support you, make it a great strength of your school network or your school individually. I hope you enjoy the resource and do get in touch if I can help in any way. Many thanks.